Hey guys, it's Carrie and Zach here from the Coffee N KOs Crew. And Zach, I got a question for you. You ever wake up on a Sunday morning and think, man, I'll cook the family some breakfast this morning?
Yeah, time or two.
Have you ever noticed how you throw the sausage links up on the griddle to one side, you throw the eggs up on the griddle to the other side, you never cook them touching?
No, you don't ever want them to touch. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it got me to thinking, why do we do that with our underwear?
I have no idea. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I think it is too. But let me tell you, fellas, Sheath has solved that problem. They have come out with men's underwear with not one, but two pockets to keep your eggs and sausage separated.
Thank goodness. This has been a problem for way too long. I can't believe it took, I'm 26 years old, 26 years at least, to come up with something so intelligent. The material is great. Everything about Sheath underwear is amazing. And what's even better, we have a promo code. Promo code Coffee N KOs. If you use the promo code Coffee, the letter N, KOs, at checkout, you get 20% off your entire order. It's a hell of a deal. And let me tell you, the underwear are well worth it. So make sure you go to sheathunderwear.com. Promo code Coffee N KOs. Make sure you separate the sausage and the eggs. And make sure you sheath your dagger. Sheathunderwear.com. Coffee N KOs promo. 20% off. Go get yourself the most comfortable underwear in the world. And don't forget to sheath your dagger.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fight Bananas presents Coffee N KOs Podcast. We're crazy about fights and jacked on caffeine.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another lovely edition of the Coffee N KOs podcast, the recap show for UFC 259, right here on the Fight Bananas YouTube channel and Facebook page. And guys, I feel like we can basically have a whole 2-hour podcast just on the last the Jan Sterling fight and then the main event. I just want to kind of get something off my chest right away. And I want to spend 2 minutes on this and just be done with it. I am so out on Joe Rogan that it is not even funny. I am so out on him. The fact that even DC, DC is such a clown with Rogan. He is good when Rogan is not there. He is such a clown with Rogan. They were terrible. Just going on the main event, they were shocked that Jan got a 48, 49, 45, whatever. Rounds 1, 2, and 3 could have went either way. It wasn't like Izzy dominated in one aspect or Jan dominated in one aspect. It was razor thin those 3 rounds. If you look at the strikes landed, it was, there was maybe 1 or 2 strikes separating them the whole fight. And then rounds 4 and 5 clearly to Jan. But then the whole entire time, Joe Rogan Jan is exhausted. Jan is exhausted. Jan is exhausted. It was just so clear, the bias that everyone related to the UFC in any aspect wanted Izzy to win because he's a draw, and I get it. But at the end of the day, like, have some pride. Like, Jan's story, how good he is, all of that it's an amazing story. And if you're an MMA fan, you got to appreciate that. And I was just so pissed. I mean, it was kind of all throughout the night, but like that was when I was finally like, that's it, man. Like, I'm so out on this whole thing. Like, Joe Rogan is awful. Like, he's so bad. And he loves Izzy. He talks about him all the time, and that's great. But when you're a fan of somebody, you have to put that aside and commentate the fights. And that was just, I mean, he was literally like, if you didn't watch the fight and that was like a radio broadcast, you would think Izzy ran away with that fight.
Oh yeah, you would have thought he was up in the first 3 rounds, like without a doubt. Like the amount of times they were like, "Oh, you know, Jan's biting on every single feint that Izzy's throwing," and just all these things that they were just adding up. And you just, if you were listening and you weren't watching, you literally would have thought he was up 3 rounds. And they were saying that Yan needed to get busier and that Izzy was getting very comfortable. I thought the striking was like a stalemate. Basically, it was just the wrestling that really put it over the edge for me.
Yeah, I muted it. After about halfway through the Petr Yan and Sterling fight, I muted the commentary for the rest of the time. It was throughout the night. It was unfocused. It wasn't talking about the fights. It was talking about fighters not in the fights. And I did at one point in the main event turn on the commentary, and they were talking about Paulo Costa for about 2 minutes, and then I decided I'm all good. I'm getting nothing from this commentary. It's a podcast. It's what this is for. We're talking more about the fights here than they were talking. They were like flirting back and forth throughout the night, like making each other giggle. It was the commentary. You know, we can say it's not important, but it is a huge barometer for how most fans view the sport. And when they're talking about fights this way, it harbors a type of fan that's probably not watching this recap show right now anyways, but it's just, it was really, really rough. So, you know, what up, Jake Quellen? I just don't want to talk about Joe Rogan anymore. I know that he was asking in the post-fight interview to Blachowicz if what it was like moving up from middleweight earlier in his career. And Jan quickly said, I've never fought at middleweight. And then Joe went, oh. And then it's just, we just can move on. He's clearly doesn't watch the fights. He's clearly not a fan and has a passion for the sport. His podcast has fucking sucked for about 4 years now too. Like, he's sold out and got rich and stopped trying. So I just wish he'd kind of leave.
Yeah, let's not dwell on it too much. Let's get into some of the action. I don't know where we even want to start. Do you want to start with the main event, or should we just jump right into it?
Let's start with the main event, since that's kind of like fresh and that just happened. And all I got to say is the Jan story, I already said it. It's amazing. Jan's story is just absolutely incredible. You go from almost being cut by the UFC to being the champ. You just beat a guy who was to some universally recognized as the pound for pound best guy in the UFC. He, in my opinion, I'm not going to say he dismantled him, but in the rounds 4 and 5, he did what he had to do in the championship rounds. He was the better guy. Aaron kind of mentioned it, and then I was kind of on it as well. The size difference was going to play a factor. We all knew it was going to play a factor as long as Jan wrestled. I wish Jan would have wrestled a little bit earlier in the fight, especially you saw the end of round 5. He was landing some heavy ground and pound. I mean, once he got top mount, Izzy couldn't move. So I think that Izzy might have gotten a finish had he decided to wrestle earlier in the fight.
You mean Jan?
Yeah, Jan. Sorry, Jan.
Just want to make sure that
Sorry,
Blachowicz in the fight, he really would have won.
No, Blachowicz. So I really love Jan Blachowicz. I think that he's a great champ. I think that Glover and him is going to be a great fight. But Dana White is definitely somewhere right now. He doesn't have any hair, so he's not pulling his hair out, but he's not happy because it's been Khabib retiring, Conor McGregor losing. The only thing he has right now is Amanda Nunes obviously kept the belt in dominating fashion, which we don't even have to talk about that because Megan Anderson didn't even throw a strike, so we don't even have to talk about that fight. But
there's a couple of our fighters did not throw strikes in that fight. Rough night for some of our podcast guests. But focusing on Jan, he really could have went to this game plan earlier on, but we've kind of talked about how he's fallen a little bit in love with his striking for one, probably been significantly more training his striking. He did start to look a little gassed with the grappling. So maybe if he went to that earlier, he was fearing that maybe Izzy was kind of holding back in the first few rounds. But I had it 2-1 through 3 rounds for Yan.
Same.
And I thought it was a pretty solid 2-1. And it just was closer than it needed to be because of how Yan fought this fight. But it's, betting aside, which I did bet Yan pretty heavily, finally got on the cash cow. 9 of 10 underdog wins for Jan Blachowicz. That is, I think, one of the most remarkable runs that will ever be done in UFC history. To be an underdog and 9 of 10 win those, like that's just like that's so impossible. The odds if you double your money on each of those bets and like stacked it from $10, you'd be up to somewhere in the 10 grand range. Like if you just bet Jan over and over and took those winnings. Like, and it's probably more than that, actually, to be honest with you, because it's just like he was a plus 200 tonight. Like, huge. And it's like Stylebender came in at 200 pounds. He was going to weigh, it was at least a 30-pound difference. The Polish power was definitely there. I mean, that first clinch when he just kind of folded him up, I was like, why have you been waiting this long? What up, Brian? Join us in the chat. But, part of the 2.5-hour breakdown. Brian looked pretty good. We'll get to his fight later, though. But
yeah, I thought it's funny because like we have like athletes coming out, like you heard like LeBron James win a championship. He was like, put some respect on my name. And then Kamaru Usman came out and did the same thing. He was like, put some respect on my name. Put some goddamn respect on Jan Blachowicz's name, being an underdog in all of those fights and pulling it out. And he's doing it in pretty dominant fashion against Israel Adesanya, who a lot of people obviously thought was going to win this fight. And obviously that's like a high risk, high reward type of situation for Israel going into that fight. If he wins, he looks like a genius. That adds to his legacy. We're talking about his GOAT status even more. But now that he loses that fight, we just saw the obvious gaps with the strength and the size difference. And it's just like, okay, you actually belong down at 185. That's where you belong. If you put in Glover Teixeira against Izzy, I'm going to take Glover Teixeira in that. If you take like Alexander Rakic, I'm going to take Alexander Rakic. These guys are massive.
It's a 20-pound difference. It's a
20-pound difference. Like, yeah, Jan's coming into that like 225 easy. He's a big man, and it was very clear throughout that. So I was disappointed in Izzy, but again, I think he made the right decision to go in there and at least try to extend his legacy, but it just didn't work out for him, and that's gonna hurt. That number 1 loss, that's gonna hurt.
Listen, I'm an Izzy fan. I love Izzy. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch, and I have no problem with him testing the waters in another division. I feel like if you want to become the GOAT, you got to do those things, and I have no problem with it. I love that before Joe Rogan could even get the question out, he said, "No, I'm going back to 185." Like he knew, and that's great. Like I love Izzy. Like he's kind of like the McGregor. Like when McGregor would lose, he'd be humble, right? Like early on. That's kind of what I like about Izzy is he's not going to sugarcoat anything. And this is the way I kind of see it is Izzy has great striking. He's obviously the faster guy at light heavyweight, but I kind of attribute it to Max Holloway. Max Holloway, when he moved up to fight Dustin Poirier, he had the speed advantage, but the power just wasn't there. And there was at no point where like Izzy would land some flush shots, but it just wasn't damaging Jan. Like Jan had no damage on his face whatsoever. Like the punching power just wasn't there at the light heavyweight division. And I just think that would be the case no matter who he fights. I think that at 185, he's got that power to knock the guys out as the punches pile up. It's just not happening at light heavyweight. Those guys can eat more shots. They're bigger. The power isn't there. So I do think Izzy's division is 185. And I think that this loss, I don't think we're ever going to see John Jones and Izzy. I think that's going to be one of those fights everyone's going to want. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Who's going to want it after this?
No.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to want it after this. And just, one of my buddies texted me right after the 5th round when he got the takedown. It was like pretty clear that Jan was walking away with it. He was like, cues up John Jones' Instagram because John Jones is going to have plenty.
Oh, he chirped
to say.
He did. Yeah, he already chirped.
Quick.
I hope he already deleted it too because I love when he deletes it. I think that's one of my favorite troll moves that he does because he knows the screenshots have been taken.
Yeah,
and he knows that people are going to talk about him deleting it now too. It's not like he's deleting it trying to be like, oh, these people like it is like John Jones is more focused on being a troll right now than a fighter, and he's doing a fantastic job at it. I'll just say that. But Jan, and I'm the only person in the world probably dancing on the rooftop for Jan versus Glover, but that is an incredible.
No, I love that fight. I think it's a great fight.
They're gonna put it on like ESPN Plus Fight Pass prelim. Like he's gonna find a way to like not put it. It won't be a pay-per-view.
You need another triple title fight. Put him on the bottom of it.
Typically, there is I feel like one title shot every year that is on a UFC fight night, and that could be it. That could be the one,
dude. They're not putting a 37-year-old and a 40, possibly 43-year-old Glover Teixeira at the time. Like, but it's gonna be a great fight, and like I don't know who I'd take in that fight, to be honest. That is two guys who are literally match up perfectly with each other everywhere.
Yeah, the only thing I saw with Jan is when he started using the wrestling, like when he went into round 5, he was gassed. So he definitely uses a lot of energy when he's on the ground. But again, like to end the round 5, like he was on top throwing bombs. So he definitely found like the motivation inside to like just keep going. So I don't know. That's going to be two bulls going at it, and that'd be fun. But this was definitely a blueprint, right? This was a huge blueprint fight against Izzy. So now you think about someone like Marvin Vettori, who's coming up at 185. And I know they've already fought in the past, but obviously Vettori is looking great now. You know, that's going to be a difficult fight for Israel at some point.
I think the blueprint's been out on Izzy. I think that it's kind of been out. Everyone knows if you can get him to the thing is, most of the time when guys, the way that Izzy fights, I feel like a lot of times when people try to take him down, he's pretty close to the fence. When you're close to the fence, much easier to take down or to stop the takedowns. Jan was taking him down in the middle of the octagon. Izzy couldn't really crawl to the cage to try to get up. You know what I mean? So I think the blueprint's kind of been out on Izzy. It's just, and he's also at that lower weight class. He is stronger. I mean, he's the bigger guy than it. He's probably coming in at 200 pounds. You know, he's weighing in at 185. He's coming in at 200 pounds. So I think Marvin Vettori is a tough matchup. He fought Izzy really, really well the first time. And I think Marvin Vettori has only gotten better, and I think he's a dark horse in that division for sure. Yeah. And I think David said who's next for Izzy. I think that he's going to get the winner of Costa, and Whitaker, which I think hopefully Whitaker wins. I'd like to see them run it back. But and then I think eventually, you know, you got Marvin Vettori going to start coming up, and he's fighting soon.
Darren Till, right?
He wants to fight Darren Till, which. You know, I love Darren Till. One of my favorites. He's hysterical, but he's had a really up and down career as well. I mean, his fight against Whitaker was very, very good. But he needs to stockpile a couple wins before he can really be claiming a title shot. And I think that him and Izzy is a better version of Darren Till, in my opinion. And I love Darren Till, but they're the same style, but Izzy's better. So I don't know. I think that's what's going to be next for Izzy, though. I think it'll be the winner of Costa Whitaker. And then, hopefully, honestly, I'm kind of pulling for Marvin Vettori to kind of make his way up. I think that would be a pretty good fight.
Yeah, I'm going with Izzy at heavyweight next. I mean, I just loved how he looked at light heavyweight here. You know, go ahead. Weight classes don't matter.
Okay, Joe.
But he'll come in at like 205, maybe 210.
Weight classes don't matter. You know, I mean, it's about anime.
Dude, and talking about jumping from 185 to 205, you're jumping 20 pounds there, still not even coming in at 205. Like, that showed so much in this fight. It breaks my heart as an Izzy fan, 20-0. It's hard to see that one come in, but man, he lost that fight.
People will
straight
forget,
up lost
I feel
that
like
fight.
after he stockpiles more wins, like people will forget that fight. Like people forget Max Holloway lost to Dustin Poirier. Like I feel like people forget that fight. I mean, it's one of those things. He challenged himself. He knows he doesn't belong there, and it's kind of done with. Like if he goes back to middleweight and just absolutely destroys everyone, people are going to forget that loss right away.
The echelon he was trying to enter into was like a GOAT status. He's not there. He's most likely not going to be there unless he can stockpile another 5 straight wins at middleweight now, which would mean he has to beat Whitaker again because Whitaker is going to beat Costa, I believe. And then he has to beat Marvin Vettori because Marvin Vettori is the guy who fought him closest other than Jan. And then he has to beat a couple more contenders at 185. Then he can re-enter it. But what he was trying to do, there's a reason that Anderson Silva, back when Anderson Silva would go up and weight a couple times, there's a reason Anderson Silva took on Stephan Bonner, James the Sandman Irvin. Like, he didn't
Daniel
take
Cormier.
He didn't take on, well, when he took on Daniel Cormier, he got mollywopped.
Yeah.
But there's a reason when he usually moved up to take on a journeyman who didn't win the title, like Jan. I mean, it's like, so this is just like, it's a definitely a commendable, thing to go for, but you get all the credit the day before of weighing in with the pizza box. This is where the pizza box gets flipped. And now you have to deal with, like, you got an upside down pizza that it's still a pizza, but you've now got shit on it because, like, you kind of, wrote a check you couldn't cash. It's like, I know it's harsh, but like I
agree. I think that he should have, and he admitted it. He's like, the weight obviously played a factor. I mean, but I think he also had intentions of going back to middleweight anyway. He didn't really want to also just balloon up ridiculous too. So I don't know. At the end of the day, Izzy. I don't worry about Izzy. He's in a good place mentally. He really, I don't think, honestly cares. I mean, he cares obviously, but it's not like the end of the world for him. He's supremely confident at middleweight. I think that he'll be fine. I don't know what David is talking about with my wild mad rant.
I know what you're talking about with those money bags next to my name, though, because we had a very good night. If you listen to that marathon of a podcast, because we killed it. But
yeah, I made some money tonight. The bets were hitting. The bets were hitting tonight. Shout out to Tim Elliott.
Islam's submission plus 300. Shout out to that. That was pretty bad.
I thought Jan's submission was going to hit at one point. I thought he was going to lock it in at one point.
Real close, and the KO was close as well.
So we can actually go to the co-main for a second. Amanda Nunes
for like literally 1 second, and
go.
She is the GOAT. And
what would you call that submission? Tri-armbar or triangular bar?
We'll just say domination. Listen, Megan Anderson was scared shitless. That's all I got to say.
Yes.
She was so scared. Yeah, she was so scared.
And she was frozen. She didn't move. She was just getting pieced up, and she didn't know what to do. And then she shot for the takedown, and it was like, no, that's not going to work.
She could have threw a jab from another county and landed it, and did not even attempt to throw a jab.
It was frozen. Bad. Frozen.
Like you could have thrown like a body kick. You could have thrown something, considering she was like a whole head taller than Amanda Nunes, and she just didn't throw anything. Like not even out of fear. Like just throw something out of fear. Like I don't know. She didn't do anything. And I don't want to. She's a Glory person. Obviously, we talk to the Glory people a lot, but they were pretty honest in the breakdown show today, so I don't feel too bad about it. Like, she didn't do anything. And listen, that's how freaking scary Amanda Nunes is. She is that goddamn good. Like I always say, she's in my top 5 greatest mixed martial artists ever. Like, cut the female and the male shit out. Like, she is top 5 ever, like simultaneously defending belts, knocking people out, now subbing people. Like she is just that good. People forget she lost to Kat Zingano because like it almost feels like she's like in ways like I feel like she's like this undefeated god because she has been on a run that is just remarkable. I love Amanda Nunes. Everything that we thought could possibly happen, she was like, yeah, shut up. Like you guys are all stupid because the kid didn't matter. Nothing mattered. She is just a goddamn animal. And, how do you not love Amanda Nunes? Like, seriously, like, not only...
She's too nice. She's like one of those people who's too nice.
She'll like, rip your face off, and then, she'll just, like...
Did you see, like, in the ring, on the octagon afterwards, like, Megan Anderson came over, they're, like, playing with the baby. It was like, you just got, like, subbed out. Like, did that, like, matter at all?
Seriously, it's, like, I thought Megan was applying to be a babysitter there. Because I'm like...
That's like,
have some humility, like get out.
Yeah, Amanda Nunes does like the most disrespectful shit. Like when she beat Felicia Spencer and gave her the belt. Like,
yeah, like
why?
She's just too nice, dude.
Here, play with my baby. Like
I just subbed you, but like, yeah,
my baby's gonna be able to kick the shit out of you in another 10 years. So here you go.
Yeah, like pretty much same thoughts as you guys. RIP to the women's featherweight division.
It's gone. Pour one out.
Yep. Yeah, it is done. I hope that
there's no one else, right? That's it.
I hope
Felicia Spencer
get down to 135 because
what and this is like kind of I know this is like far away, but what do we think of like Clarissa Shields versus Amanda Nunes? Probably not good, right? Because Amanda Nunes would just sub her, take her down, and sub her.
Take her down and like reverse armbar.
Isn't that the James Toney effect, as they call it?
Yeah. Yeah, it probably wouldn't work good.
By
But
the way, if you listen to me and you bet Nunes by sub, you got some serious money on Amanda Nunes too.
I'm just done betting. I'm just gonna do the cafe parlay that we never win, and just for fun.
But we come close to winning.
Amanda has single-handedly ruined 2 weight divisions.
Yeah,
I mean,
she
there's
did.
just no one left. There's literally no one left to beat.
Juliana Pena.
Yeah. Bring her in. Come
I
on.
feel like she just needs to. She could just fight tomorrow. Like, just give Juliana Pena a shot tomorrow. They can just fight. Like,
how close are we getting to that man versus woman UFC?
Dude, that's the move. That's what it is.
Does it happen in 2022?
it's not going to ever happen. I don't think it will ever happen.
So it never happened. So if I laid you plus 2,000 odds, you wouldn't bet on yes.
I'll take the yes on that.
I mean, I would take the yes on it, but I still don't think it happens.
Okay,
But
so I give you 2 years plus 2,000. Like I'll say within the next 2 years, it does happen with Amanda.
it would never be sanctioned though. I feel like it would have to be like an exhibition fight.
Well, maybe that's yeah.
What about Shevchenko? Do we want to see the third fight or no?
I feel like that's the only other thing they could really do.
Yeah, I'd rather see
That's
that. I'd rather see that than Juliana Pena.
Those are like the only two that are like, I mean, and I still think Amanda Nunes is worlds ahead of her, but they're the only two that are semi close.
This is political, but I'd love to see her fight Gina Carano and knock her ass out.
Oh my goodness. I don't think Gina Carano's coming back.
Or the CEO of Monster, whoever Dom Cruz called out.
Or Jake Paul, I think we said on the podcast.
I mean, that would be cool. Yeah. But I mean, Amanda Nunes hits probably harder than she definitely hits harder than some guys in the UFC. I know she hits harder than Dominic Cruz, and I'm not trying to talk shit on Dominic Cruz, but like he's kind of like a guy that's like pitter patter and then kind of gets out and like a little like he doesn't knock guys out. Like
throw those like weird looping punches.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know if that's true. I'm gonna have to.
I think it's true. You heard it here on this show first. It's 100% true. Amanda Nunes hits harder than Dominic Cruz, and I'm out on Dominic Cruz too. I mean,
Dominic Cruz is out on Dominic Cruz by the sounds of it.
I mean, like
the
that fight was
interview
close. Yeah, I like this comment. Honestly, the next move for Amanda Nunes might be a one-off at WrestleMania. That is,
hey, that's how you get paid.
To that.
Like a Ronda Rousey plot.
That's how you get paid.
Rousey.
Yeah,
She'll probably make $5 million in one show.
Do it.
Yeah, you're right. But no, like that fight with Casey Kenny was close, but now he wants to fight like some social media guy, and Dominic Cruz is just
that was
what's
weird,
happening
man.
to Dominic Cruz.
That was real weird.
Well, let's stick with the main card. We'll get down to it.
Yeah. Should we jump into Sterling?
Oh man, Aaron, I'll let you go first, dude. No, let me go first. All right, so first, let's just talk about. So obviously, let's give a rundown for the people. Aljamain Sterling wore an illegal knee. And Jan asked his corner, or his corner told him, yes, it's okay. I don't know if they were talking about body shot or what, but ultimately Jan threw an illegal knee to the head. And I mean, I will say this. I do think Sterling milked it. I'm not going to say that he didn't milk it. I think he definitely milked it without a doubt. We've seen fighters do this. Diego Sanchez did the same shit like a year ago, 2 years ago. Diego Sanchez did the same thing because it's an automatic win. I agree with Steve. I don't think the title should, in ways, I don't feel like the title should change hands. I feel like maybe you get a loss, but like a DQ loss doesn't, like WWE disqualification. You don't lose the belt. You don't lose the belt, but you lose the fight.
Oh yeah, it's got to be DQ next time.
But this is the thing. So my thing with this is one. There are parts of Aljamain Sterling where he was probably honestly dazed a little bit. And let me just put it in this perspective. And this is the best way I can explain it. So those of you that hate other sports, I'm sorry, but this is the only way I can really explain it. I was a baseball player. I played baseball in college. I could go and throw 130 pitches in a game, right? And I could keep throwing over and over again as long as I don't stop. The second that I stop and take a 3, 4, 5 minute break, you start to feel it. You're dead. And so from that aspect, I have no doubts in my mind that Aljamain Sterling was so tired. The only thing that was keeping him up in that fight was adrenaline. That when he had that break where Mark Smith was telling him to stop or not get up, that's it. The adrenaline dump is done. His body cannot. He was probably honestly just more physically tired and could not get up than what the knee had done. So I agree. I think he was totally milking it. Now the other, and this, I'll just get my whole rant out so then you guys can go and then we can kind of discuss it. The other aspect is this. Petr Yan is the champ. When you are the champ, you are the best of the best in that division. You need to know the rules. At the end of the day, you need to know the rules. And even Mark Smith told him that he was a downed opponent and he still threw the knee. That it just can't happen. And at the end of the day, we always say the fighter shouldn't take more unnecessary damage. At that point, they're already 4 rounds into the fight. Let's be honest, Aljamain was already getting pieced up throughout the entire fight. And he wore a knee that we don't know could have or could not have affected the fight. And it ended by disqualification. And I agree with the disqualification. Again, I think it's a shit way to win the title. And if Aljamain was severely hurt, which I don't think he was, because as we all saw, he tweeted right after he did the interview. So I agree with you in that aspect, Aaron. He should not want the belt. And I mean, he did take it off and, you know, everything in the ring, but like, who knows if he
still has it.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, he still has it. I don't think the belt should have changed hands, but at the end of the day, Petr Yan needs to know the rules. And it's even more like upsetting is the fact that Khabib, potentially the greatest ever or the greatest ever, they're telling him it's okay. That can't happen. Now, again, there could have been a misunderstanding, whatever. That can't happen. I agree. I agree with the stoppage. I do think Aljamain, I think ultimately he milked it. They have to run it back. And I said this in our group chat. They'll run it back. Petr Yan's going to starch him. He's going to become champ again. And at that point, Aljamain Sterling probably has ruined his relationship with Dana White. And he'll probably never get a title shot again. So, I mean, that's kind of how I see that going, because Dana White is obviously, I will not be surprised if he goes on his press conference and says it's bullshit. I mean, you could see how disappointed he was when freaking he had to put the belt around Aljamain's waist, which I totally get it. That's just a shit way to end the fight. But at the end of the day, you got to follow the rules and you got to protect the fighters. We talk about it all the time. And I don't feel like the fight should have gone on, because at that point, you're 4 rounds in. He's already taken damage. Now he just took, and the knee was flush. It was bad. I mean, it was a blatant bad knee. But I don't agree with the title changing hands. That is my rant.
I just want to add one thing to that before Aaron goes. It's just, I don't think in that moment, it's not Aljamain's decision to continue to fight. I know he was saying that he wanted to fight, but that goes to the referee and that goes to the doctor to say if they think he has a concussion, they have to err on the side of caution and say
one more thing.
He definitely
if you're getting punched in the face all non-stop every fight, you probably have a concussion.
I know, but if you are obviously caught on camera, you get hit flush by a massive knee right to the head. You have to kind of take that. You obviously take that into consideration and you err on the side of caution in that regard. That's just another thing I wanted to add. Zach, you did a great job.
Thank you. Go ahead, Aaron. We're ready.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty upset about this when it happened. As it was happening, I had the same reaction, and then it grew as after the fight. I think Aljamain milked it. I think his corner encouraged him to sell it towards the end. He sat up and then he flailed his arms back in a very unnatural, like Ric Flair motion, and he was like, oh. And then as soon as they called it, he got up and then went and cried and went, which you can't. I think he cussed 3 times. You don't do that. Again, these are like theatrics, and then
concussions do get people emotional. I'm just saying.
They definitely but they don't have you able to completely recall.
No, I know. I'm just fucking with you.
The interview. And then be like, oh, he took everything I worked for with that knee because he was playing stupid games. He was doing the thing that people do all the time where they hang out with their knee and touching and kind of going up, and he faked going up and then he stayed down, and stupid games get stupid prizes. The ref continued to hold him down, and then the commentator saying he couldn't walk, and then him getting held by his arm because he couldn't walk, and then all of a sudden he's recovered and he's writing coherent paragraphs and everything, and the belt he threw down, he picked up, and he has right on his fucking shoulder right now, like I would. And like it is what it is. Kept me away from a perfect main card, so that sucks. I did a main card parlay that would have paid out nicely, but it's all right. Like, you got to look separately from that. It was still a good night, and yeah, unfortunately, like, that's just how I feel. And Michuga Jai, thanks for listening.
I gotta say, that was a buzzkill too. That was a massive buzzkill into the whole card. Like, the next two fights after that, I was like, I don't honestly feel it anymore.
Honestly, like, this is like my opinion. If an illegal knee, like something like that bad happens,
but yeah,
the fight should just get called. There shouldn't even be. At the end of the day, the fight should just be called. And again, I don't think the belt should change hands.
Agreed.
But it should just be called, because at that point, you're either the fighter is not okay, and they're going to convince the doctor that they're okay, right? And then it's going to be worse for them, or the doctor. It's just too much gray area. If it's a very bad knee and something that bad, like flush, and obviously it obviously knocked him down. Just end it. Just end the fight. They run it back, and that's it. No discussion.
I agree. It's not like waiting and looking at the result after and looking at how intense of a foul it is. It's just judging it as all fouls equally. It's like targeting in football. You get a targeting call. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like huge helmet to helmet or barely. Like, you don't judge on the result. You judge on the foul. And Petr Yan, yeah, exactly. And Petr Yan is the champion. He definitely should have known the rules. I really hate. Go ahead and check out TJ Dillashaw's tweet, because I hate it, but that's basically how I feel about the entire.
I can't take stock in anything Dillashaw says. I know, he's a goddamn cheater too.
Good sign agreeing with Dillashaw, but it kind of goes with the two guys' comment about my head. But it's like, it is what it is. I'm emotional. I'm speaking from the heart, but like.
And at the end of the day, Aljamain Sterling. The only thing I did like his striking a little bit. Like, I like the pace. I like the like the punching. Like, I like the punching pace that he was working at. I hated everything else. His takedowns, like his shots for takedowns, were awful. Petr Yan's wrestling was insane. The trips that he was doing, everything else was ridiculous. Like, that fight made me a huge fan of Petr Yan. Like, I think that's the best version that we saw of him, aside from the knee. Like, he looked amazing. The wrestling, he was better than Aljamain Sterling in every way. And I love Jan's style of fighting, where he's not going to finish guys in like round 1, round 2, round 3. He's going to like just melt you. Like, he is going to just make you like tired, wear on you. And then rounds 4 and 5, he just pours it on. Like, and the thing is, like, so it looked like Aljamain's landing shots, right? He didn't land anything, because Petr Yan's defense is so good. The way he turtles himself up to not wear any shots is absolutely incredible. So I know it sucks. Petr Yan is obviously still, in our opinion, probably the best guy in that division.
Yeah. And
I think that they run it back. I think he beats Sterling, obviously. And I think then you got to run Sterling, Sandhagen. But in this time, the fight, it needed to be stopped regardless. I don't think after everything that happened, I don't think you can let him keep going. All right, let's say that Jan or Sterling wanted to be, a big badass and was like, okay, I'm fine. Let's keep fighting. What if he's not all there, takes more shots? I mean, there's just so many things that could come, down the line. So we always are a big proponent of guys not taking unnecessary damage. If that fight keeps going, he could be taking unnecessary damage. He doesn't need to. So at the end of the day, we're all on Jan. We love Jan. But he needs to know the rules, and at the end of the day, hopefully they're going to run it back. So, I mean, that's all that matters.
Just to close up my end of it, like, obviously after the fight, Zach was getting a lot of the brunt of my frustration here.
Which is fine. I was loving it, so it's totally cool.
It's like, again, like, I just, I do understand why it was stopped. I do understand why Sterling made the decision he made. And I do think he was hurt. It's a fight. Definitely guys are hurt. And it was a knee that landed partially to his face. And
partially?
Fully.
His hand was like also in, there too. But like, it definitely was a good knee that if you're not ready for it, which Sterling did explain he wasn't, like getting hit when you're not ready with any shot in any sport or anything. It's like, the shots that hurt, and it was an illegal shot. Like, at the end of the day, like, when Gane fights smart and makes the right decision in his fight against Rosenstrike, and I have that, and I feel that's a smart way to fight. I don't hate on that. This is a different smart way to fight. It was a smart way to fight.
I do like. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I just want to say that I think, just looking at that fight as a whole, Aljamain Sterling, I was very unimpressed by what he was doing. I thought the striking he was showing was like panicky. He wasn't landing it. He blew his gas tank way too early. Kind of similar to what Dom Reyes did when he fought John Jones. Like, you see that in title fights where these guys just get a little bit too excited. So I wasn't very impressed with his striking.
I thought round one he looked all right. Round one wasn't bad. I thought it was
round
kind
one,
of after
I
that.
thought he could, but then the knockdown happened in that round, didn't it? Jan hit him clean with that right hand and knocked him down. So like that dealt a way more damage towards the fight. But yeah, I was getting a lot of Kevin Kroom vibes is what I was saying. He was just sloppily shooting for those takedowns and wasn't even coming close to them.
Yeah. And then Jan was just schooling him with like the trips. The trips they got
the
me
Russian trips,
up,
man.
Dude. They were nasty. And I want to get to Nico's point here in the chat. I really like this point. And so we've been saying how the belt shouldn't change hands, but I do like his point. If the belt didn't change hands, now that it did change hands, it's going to encourage champions to follow the rules more. You got to follow the cage rules. So I do like that aspect as well. It's a huge, it's almost like the fence grab, right? Like it's a huge alternating point in a fight. Like you need to be able to follow the rules, and the champ is held to a high standard. You're the champ. You are the best of the best. So you should know the rules inside and out. And you have one of the greatest ever in your corner. And the fact that they gave him the okay still blows my mind. It was absolutely crazy.
Also, picture if that cannot lead to a change of the title, then if you're losing that fight, you can go in there, land a knee, and then eventually you just have nothing to lose at that point. So you can just make it a DQ.
Yeah, it's just like one of these situations where it's like there's no real winners in this. Like no matter what, Sterling doesn't want to win the title like that. Removing the emotions, and it's like he doesn't want to win the title like that, and it's like. I think that he doesn't fight that way the next time. I think he has to have a serious adjustment. But Sterling is now takedown percentage is under 35%.
Yep.
So that was so bad.
Don't realize about his wrestling. They really seem to think that this guy is a wrestling phenom. But I frankly think that Jan showed tonight he might be the better wrestler and he is the better striker. And the way Sterling was striking is not compatible for more than 2.5 rounds.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that performance even goes to show that Corey Sandhagen thing was kind of a fluke.
I want Sandhagen freaking Jan.
This is why you can't really judge these flash knockouts, these flash submissions. Yeah. It's the same reason why I'm still on Stipe at the end of the month, because again, Ngannou got it on a couple of flash knockouts. I don't think he's getting that again, but that's getting way ahead. But yeah, Jan, I'm glad that Jan clearly was winning the fight ahead of time, so we don't have any talks about moving Jan off of the title or something like that. If Jan had lost the first few rounds and then did that to Sterling, for one, I would have been interesting to see if Sterling still did the same or would have made the same choice. I don't know, or whoever made the choice. But I'm glad that Jan was winning so that we can see this again, because I think the odds are going to look very different next time.
Oh, they'll be super heavy on Jan, and and the biggest takeaway from that sucks is the fact that we got to push Sandhagen versus Jan back now. We might not even see that till 2022. Let's not count out
Sterling. Like he gets a whole nother camp now to also train and see what he did wrong in that fight. I'm just saying.
I just don't know if it matters. I think Jan is really that. Like, all right, we talked about how, and this is my last point, and then we can get off this. We talked about how like Sterling looked okay in round one striking. I really think that was just more so Jan. Jan is so patient. He doesn't mind just covering up and taking a couple shots. He's getting reads. So I don't really know how good Aljo really did look in that first round as to Jan just kind of getting a feel, and maybe he's a guy that needs to get hit a little bit. And then after he gets hit, I don't know. Like it was just so weird how round one was one thing, and then it just totally different fight after that. So
I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think he was waiting it out because he saw Aljo throwing that output. It doesn't take a genius to figure out he's going to blow his gas tank.
It was kind of the same thing against Aldo. Like the early rounds in Aldo versus Jan weren't like
Aldo looked good.
And then he just melted all though throughout the fight. And then the tides turned heavy. And then it was just all Petr Yan the rest of the time. So, I mean, I like that fight style. I think it's like savage as shit to just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take you to the 4th round. I'm going to make you like actually just like wear everything and just you train for 5 rounds. Like we're going 5 rounds and I'm going to beat the piss out of you, but I'm not going to finish you. we're going to beat the shit out of you. And then maybe I'll finish you in round 5.
I mean, I had a round 5 finish. So that's another thing. It really like, I'm a very emotional watcher of like fights, you know, which is a bad combination with betting. I'm not an emotional bettor though, but once like my bets are in, I'm really behind because I do have what I feel are good reads. And when I'm seeing like the progression of Yan, like slowly turning it up each round, I'm like, this is what I wanted to see. I was like the 4th or 5th round, here it comes. If the 5th round hit would have hit, that would have been like a plus 900. So
I did want to bring up the stats. So Steve and I were talking about this since we're on a Russian fighter here. The Russian fighters in the UFC, the top guys, Makhachev, Khabib, Ankalaev, Umar, Petr Yan, and Askar Askarov, who fought today against Joey B. Their combined professional MMA record, 104 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. And that was just absolutely insane to me. Like that record is just insane. And they're just doing something right there, man. They're doing something right. They're absolutely incredible. And, you know, unfortunately, today didn't go Petr Yan's way, but he'll be back. And again, they're going to run it back. And I think that he's going to have the strap again. I really do. So anyway, we can go back to, we can keep going. Makhachev, absolutely dominant performance over Drew Dober. Hats off to Drew Dober, man. I mean, he did honestly, like, it's just Makhachev is a mauler, bro. He is just a mauler. And this is the win that Makhachev needed on his record to really like solidify it. The hype's been there. Everyone, I mean, Khabib is not going to just spew lies. Like it is his guy, but like the hype around Makhachev has been there forever. And finally today, like Drew Dober is a freaking dog, man. Like he just comes, he's always down to fight. And he had no answer. He had no answer for the takedowns. He had no ways of getting up. It was a absolute beating by Makhachev and ended up getting the sub. And yeah, I can't believe that was even plus 300, to be honest with you, because I think that was a pretty lock for me, especially after round 1. It was like Drew Dober, man, he just couldn't get anything going. By the time you try to land any strikes, he's already on his back. And Makhachev is so damn strong, bro. He's so strong, and he's going to be
takedowns.
He's going to be
a level.
He's going to be a freaking problem for a lot of people in that division, if not everyone.
Well, yeah, you see what Khabib did to everyone. That's the same fighting style, and all these guys who are strikers at the top of that division, they just struggle against a guy like that. And Makhachev is just really not that much different. He doesn't really throw as much ground and pound. That's the only thing I would like to see more of him from. But the strength is there, the takedowns are there. The submission game's there. Drew Dober tried to stop the takedowns. We were talking about his takedown defense. We were talking about his cardio. Obviously, he's like a big, stocky guy. He didn't have a damn answer for that. I was waiting for like the left hand to land, but he just never had the opportunity. The submission kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't see that coming. Thought it was going to go to decision, but he kind of snuck it in there. So good for Makhachev. He definitely earned my respect. You know, you're going to see him get a huge fight in his next one. And, you know, he's just going to have a clear-cut path to the top because he's got the Khabib ties, and DC loves him as well.
Yeah, it was a really great performance. I don't really have much negative to say about it. It was just kind of put on a clinic, and it's unfortunate for Dober for sure. There's a certain level of guy in a type of matchup for him that seems to cause him trouble. And I mean, Makhachev, I think it was really important he got a finish in this fight. I just think that it was even a dominant 30-25 type of decision would have continued kind of this narrative that he has trouble finishing fights, which is, you know, important for a lot of people for sure. And he showed a good gas tank. His strike differential, I didn't realize was so great as well. So basically since that Martins fight, he's like, I just won't get hit like a lot. Like that's probably the best strategy to not get knocked out. And I think he just takes that, and now the Khabib odds prices will continue to go because we're not going to see Islam as less than a 200 favorite probably in this next fight. Against Tony Ferguson, he'll be a minus 400.
Yeah, I don't see anyone really causing him any issues. That he's just so strong, way too dominant of a wrestler.
He's bigger than Khabib. Like, I didn't really realize.
5'10", I think.
Yeah, he's longer than Khabib. He's a little wider than Khabib. Like, I mean, it just feels like we're going to be saying this about a lot of the Khabib proteges because Umar.
Before you know it, every division is just going to have a Russian champ, and it's just going to be them against the world.
Ankalaev could easily make a run too, and it's just like, I mean, it's the Russian MMA scene.
Umar,
how do you stop these guys? You have to knock them out.
Imagine Umar versus Yan. I know it's so soon, but like, damn, Umar is my guy, and I'm all aboard the Umar Nurmagomedov hype train. I can't wait. He's going to be in there soon because he's in Vegas. So,
yeah, it's ridiculous. Do we even want to talk about the first fight on the main card?
Yes, because it was a freaking snooze fest.
Oh my goodness,
that was brutal, man. That's a title contention fight. Like, whoever wins that is going into the title shot very soon. And you get an absolute snoozer out of Santos. I was waiting the whole time for him to throw something or move forward, and he just never did it. And I was thinking,
both guys.
I know,
both
but it was honestly, this had Gone Rosenstrike written all over it.
I don't think Rakic did nearly as much as what Gone did.
Exactly. That was the only thing I had. I was like, Santos, Rosenstrike, they didn't do anything. Rakic was obviously the aggressor, but he also didn't do anything. He just did a little bit more. And I still think Rakic has so much potential. I think he can be a future champ in that division, but he just didn't really show out. I think he's just scared of Santos.
That is the first that might be one of the first times that you win a fight and it drops your stock. Like, he is not. That was awful. I'm sorry. Like, that did nothing for me for Alexander Rakic. Like, you go from dominating Anthony Smith, who fought, for the belt, and then you do that against and I get Santos is dangerous, but so is everyone else in that division that you're gonna fight. Like, you cannot. Like, at the end of the day, if it would have gone Santos's way, I would not have been surprised. Like, that's how much inactivity there was throughout that entire fight. It was boring as shit from both guys, and they should lose like $5,000 for being boring as hell each, because that was just straight hot. That was hot garbage. That fight was the worst fight of the night, hands down. It was bad.
I think that was like supposed to be like sneaky, maybe fight of the night, opening the main card of this mega card, and it just was not good. Not good.
It was garbage. Yeah.
Aaron.
So bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a great performance by either guy. I'll agree with that, but yeah, I think Santos at this point, Santos is all set. His best performance was a performance that cost him both his knees, and he still lost the fight to John Jones. And I don't think it's possible to be the same after 2 knee surgeries to each knee. I thought that the interesting thing for me after the fight was how proud Rakic was with his performance.
The brown belt he got.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Weird. For one, like, he screamed in the octagon, but I thought it was really harsh, the commentary at that point when they're like, why is he getting a brown belt? He didn't do anything.
That might have been the only thing I agreed with Joe Rogan on the whole night.
Yeah. Leave him alone. Like, it's like at a second grade graduation being like, that bitch's hand painting wasn't even that good. Like, it's like, you don't say that at the graduation. You wait till after you're in the car driving home. Let her have her moment. Let Rakic have his brown belt.
Listen, Giannis, I totally agree. Both guys, heavy hitters, but that is the rest of the division. Like, I understand playing it safe. Like, I have last week with the Cyril Gane performance, I have no issues with that, but they didn't do anything. Like, there was not, it just, to me, like, no guy solidified. Like, if Rakic would have gone in, throw a couple punches, back out, like, it just wasn't that fight. Like, Cyril Gane clearly dominated the fight against Rosenstrike. Neither one of them clearly dominated that fight. Like, it was just very too hesitant. And he should not have gotten the brown belt. That was just, he didn't grapple at all. I totally agree. There was no grappling. There was nothing. It was just terrible.
Yeah, it's like the MMA equivalent of Craig and Friday, how you get fired for stealing boxes on your day off. How you get a brown belt in BJJ when you did no BJJ in the MMA fight. Like we need to know this.
And he was so pumped about it too.
He was more excited about that than the win.
He screamed, and then he talked about it in the back. He's like, well, for one, I'm not listening to the post-fight right now, but I still have it muted on in the background. Dana is like the same shade of red as the howler head monkey sticker to the left of him. He's not having a good night right now. He is not okay that weight classes matter. I don't think he's a fan of the knee rule, just from judging his complexion right now.
Well, his 2021 has not. Every storyline he's tried to hype up, Conor Khabib, doesn't happen. Everything that he's wanted to happen has not. Like 2020 was a great year for Dana White. 2021 is going to be his 2020.
Yeah, and like that Dana meme of him on life support, I've been seeing that like everywhere, every single event now. It's that, and again, this event we now have a non-defeated, Israel Adesanya. It's like John Jones is waiting around. If Ngannou doesn't beat Stipe, I mean, like he's
riding high on that.
He's running out of like these like dogs, and
he's just gonna take the year off. Give it to Sean Shelby and Gray Maynard.
Just laying Ngannou is Obi-Wan. Period. Help me, Ngannou. You're my only hope. Ngannou.
I also wanted to get into. Can we talk about? So we kind of clear. I mean, Kai Kara-France, incredible performance. He looked great.
Wow,
his striking. He belongs. He belongs, man.
But also not getting subbed.
Not getting subbed.
His was incredible.
Defense was so good. I love Askar. I mean, obviously, yes, I love Askar Askarov too, but I meant to say I love Kai Kara-France. I think he's very, very good. I like him a lot. He's exciting. Do I think he beats Figueiredo and those guys? No. But I think he'll put up a great fight against anyone. I really do. Like his fights are always exciting. I like him. Tim Elliott looked great. Even talking a little shit to Jordan Espinoza, which was awesome.
The Kara-France thing, real quick. I don't think the Herb Dean thing was that bad.
Which one?
The Kai that was the Kara.
No. I think that was overblown. I think that was
overblown
because the only thing he didn't do was wave his hands. He didn't wave his hands and technically say it was over. But
yeah, that fight was done.
He was literally helping the dude up because the guy
went up to get up and just fell back to the cage. He was not going to fight.
You can't really wave your hands with all that.
Yeah, Kara-France can't walk off like that. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe Kara-France's corner said something like he didn't wave it off. It could still be going on, but like I didn't see like at first I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this? And then after I saw the replay, I was like, nah, it's not that bad. Like Herb actually didn't mess up this time. Hold on. Carrie's got something to say. Carrie.
Well, are we not sure that Herb Dean was just having an Herb Dean moment and giving him a 10 count?
Yeah, Carrie.
Like,
Carrie thinks that that Herb Dean's going to start doing like the boxing counts. I thought he was going to help him up and say, no, this fight's not over, buddy. You got to
That's what I thought too.
We're going back at it.
There was a couple times throughout the night where Herb Dean had some, I'll say, diet Herb Dean moments. So they weren't like full blown, like running across the cage when two monsters are hitting each other and letting a monster hit him 3 more times when he's unconscious bad. But it was like, there was a couple eye pokes in one of the fights where like eye poke, and he was like, wasn't an eye poke or not? Are you good? And he stepped out and didn't like, he like allowed the fighter to say like, oh yeah, it wasn't that bad of an eye poke. Like, it's like, you're the referee, you're the point of authority. Like,
was it an eye poke? Make a decision.
And then there was an eye poke like 2 seconds later, another one. It's like, oh yeah, all right, now I'm ready for it. Like I wasn't ready for it before, but like, and then with this, it was the same thing where it's just like needed the hands, needed a verbal like, it's over, and like he kind of allowed like for almost a situation to get started there, but yeah,
he definitely should have verbalized it, but it wasn't as bad as people were making it.
I agree.
It wasn't terrible.
No, I was just more upset that I missed out on my 3-fight flyweight Grand Prix.
That was my third leg of a parlay that I had. And Rogerio, when he got up and threw his mouth guard at Kai Kara-France, that was
shit's about to pop off.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, they daffed each other. Like literally, like right after he threw it, he came over and he's like, I still
it was just Herb Dean's fault.
Yeah.
That's the new thing.
We'll just blame it on that guy.
a great round. I mean, he had
Phenomenal
submissions under the neck, a neck crank that I thought he really had, and Bontarin's a legit black belt. So Kai Kara-France, Bontarin is no joke. So I'm excited to see what's next for him. But I think Tim Elliott and Kai Kara-France makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I'd love to see that fight again. And then obviously Tim looked good. Love Tim Elliott. And then honestly, I think Joey B is done. I think the writing's on the wall. I think that he's officially done.
Pour one out.
Askar Askarov is very, very good. And Joey B just
Yes.
didn't stand a chance. There was at no point in that fight that there was like one head kick that was like inches close, but that was as close as he got to anything that entire fight. Which sucks. I love Joe Benavidez, but it's just time, man. I think that's 3 straight that he's dropped. I mean, obviously 2 to Figueiredo, but it's the passing of the guard. Askar Askarov is legit as hell. He's just crazy strong too. Like I really like Askar Askarov a lot. And he's swaggy too. Like there's a point in that fight, like towards the end, like he was feeling himself, starting to throw the strikes and doing the shuffle. So I'm all in on that. I like Askar Askarov, and I think Joe Benavidez. He needs to kind of just ride off at this point and just be done. I mean, he's fought everyone. He never had the belt, but he's fought everyone, and he's an OG. He's an OG of the sport. But he needs to be done.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at the last 3 fights now. He's been getting pieced up. He's old now. You just kind of move on at that point. They didn't do him any favors throwing him Askar Askarov, but Askar definitely turned some heads on that one. He already had the number 3 ranking, but I think he like solidified it with that one. I'd like to see him and Moreno fight. I don't know if they've fought before, but I feel like that would be a solid ass fight.
Draw. They fought to a majority draw.
Exactly. I feel like
Moreno won on 1 scorecard, and that was a draw on the other 2. Like it was super close grappling scramble fest for it was crazy. Yeah, I mean, Joey's got to be done. Like again, like he was opened up pretty bad in this fight. He was rocked a few times. He was able to survive, and I think like a few people had predicted that I talked with, like they thought we're gonna see Joey struggle the first 2 rounds and then kind of find his bearings by the 3rd, which he kind of did. Like, but he still like wasn't nearly enough. I personally don't think we need to see Dominic Cruz or Joseph Benavidez after tonight.
I would agree. Cruz definitely lost a step. He was not as quick as he looked.
He looked so slow, dude.
But he still won the fight.
Look, the commentary, that's when I still had the commentary on volume. They're like,
I love him.
The speed's still there for Cruz. And I was talking with somebody during the fights, and I was like, he looks slow. Like
I sent you a message and I said, he looks so slow.
Yeah, I was talking with several people about that actually. So like you were, but yeah, he did look slow. It was still enough to beat Diet TJ Dillashaw, as they showed on I don't know if you saw the meme with the full bars of why I find them to 1 bar. I'm just like TJ Dillashaw, just the social media star of the night, apparently, without even meaning to be.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought Dominic Cruz looked like I don't think he beats anyone inside the top 8. I don't think I'm not a big I'm out on Cruz. And Joey B needs to retire. It just sucks because like Cruz, he's not like crazy old and he doesn't really take a lot of damage. It's an awkward style, but he's had so many little weird injuries and everything else that
big injuries. Like saying he was a fresh 35. I'm like, he's had like both his feet torn apart like 7 times, his knees ripped apart. Like just because you're not getting face punched, like that's some serious body, like serious body damage to take. And it's just like, I mean, he's calling out the CEO of Monster. Like, let's just talk about
what
do we have to talk about that?
No, yes, we do, because I thought he was calling out the guy from The Simpsons. I thought he was calling out Hans Moleman. I was like,
I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
I thought he said Han Solo.
And like, I was just like, what is like? I'm watching by myself here, yelling by myself. What is happening? What is happening? Why?
He's talking about like selfies with like Lamborghinis and all. I was like, what?
And then Joe's like, I'm sorry you had to make this political. And then like,
he's like, it's not political.
It's like come on, it's Monster Energy, man. And like they're like cutting it off, going to like the Vegas.
Yeah, he fucked that up, man. That was a horrible call out.
Nico gets the comment of the night. Cruz tears his asshole by sneezing.
7 comments of the night. Like, so back to Nico.
See, Melissa says I love Dominic Cruz as a commentator.
False,
I don't even like him there. Like he's probably one of the most knowledgeable, but he is so confrontational with everyone on the broadcast. It makes it so awkward.
I'd rather have confrontational than flirting. Dude,
Yeah,
I don't
I
like
agree.
flirting in my commentary during the fights. I just don't like when they start to try to make each other giggle and like aren't at all watching the fights. I don't feel like Joe Rogan watches MMA at all anymore. Like, I don't think he's watched any fight cards that are not his. I don't think he does any research on the fights. Talks about people outstriking when they're getting outstruck. Like, I don't think he's there at all. So I'm not sure.
No, I agree.
But
I like DC, but DC and Joe Rogan together are bad. I think DC with anyone else is good, but like when he's with Joe Rogan, it just is never a good commentary show. I am 100%. I 100% agree. I'm 100% out on him. Are we ready to get into our awards?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. These awards are brought to you by Sheath Underwear. Go to sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code Coffee and KOs. Get 20% off your entire purchase. It is time for the Sheath Superlatives of the Night. All right, here we go. We got the Sheath Superlatives on the night. We're going to start with the Jacked on Caffeine Performance of the Night. I'll go first on this one, and then we can rotate. Carrie actually has one. You only have one superlative? Yeah. Okay. Carrie has a decaf performance.
He's not feeling generous with the no. Just wasn't a very exciting card. Otherwise, Carrie, like
I did have a hard time with these because I really liked a lot of their performances. For the Jacked on Caffeine Performance of the Night, I'm actually, and this might be unpopular, but I'm actually going to go Kyler Phillips, man. I really liked Kyler Phillips a lot. I didn't like round three. Round three kind of got a little iffy, but towards the end, but really throughout the majority of the fight, I really like Kyler Phillips, dude. I like the way he bounces in and out. I like the way that he keeps his distance. He's a crazy, crafty striker. He beat Song Yadong, who's pretty. I mean, a lot of people like Song Yadong a lot. He came in as an underdog. I thought he. Obviously he didn't get a finish, but I really liked his performance against Song Yadong. I mean, there's so many people you could choose from. This is kind of a biased one because we've kind of been high on Kyler Phillips now. Really since last year when we started this show, we've loved Kyler Phillips. So it's a little bit of a biased pick, but you could honestly pick probably 10 people on this card for this award. So I'm going Kyler Phillips for my Jacked on Caffeine Performance of the Night.
Yeah, I feel like right off the bat, I mean, let's just say also 15 cards or 15 fights on the card. All 15 happened. That's incredible. I was pumped about that. And like the first 10 of them were just fire. So it is going to be difficult to pick here, but I feel like I have to, at least one of us has to give it to him.
Don't take my answers. I swear to God.
Does it rhyme with ban?
Okay, we're good.
Jan Blachowicz. I'm giving it to Jan Blachowicz. Jacked on Caffeine. I know it wasn't like a super exciting performance, but just how we talked about him being like the underdog in 9 of his last 10, and he goes against Israel Adesanya, who we're talking about potentially being one of the best of all time, and he's going in as an underdog as the champ. Unbelievable. He did what he had to do. He survived the onslaught of Izzy, his incredible striking that we didn't really get to see too much. Just stuck to the game plan, got the takedowns, ended up winning that fight. I just feel like we got to give Jan some respect here. I got to give it to Jan Blachowicz.
I mean, that's a ton of respect. I had it between 2 early prelims for me. Really 3. The first 3 could have gotten it all for me. I loved how Trevin Jones fought. Absolutely loved the leg kicks. He was hitting the same spots on those leg kicks, like the inside and outside. But I'm gonna go. It pains me to say this. I need a doctor. Euros Medic 48-0 blow. And
That was my second one.
all of them hard shots too. This is that espresso shot where it makes you kind of pucker. It's so strong. Like that. I mean, that was just 48 shots, few of them illegal, but at the same point, like you can't call him at that point when he's putting himself in that position. 48 upload, but also, that's fine.
One of the worst late stoppages I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was rough. It was really hard to watch.
And Mark Smith is normally good. That was really bad. He must have. Herb Dean was in the earpiece saying, just let this bitch keep going. All right. So, go ahead.
Well, I just, since Aaron was giving me garbage for not participating in the rest of them, I figure I'll participate, Aaron. My jacked on caffeine performance of the night is going to go to Tim for using his blood as an offensive weapon. That's just...
That was the first time I've
forearm.
seen that. Yeah, but he he was purposely like he had a cut on his forehead. He was purposely putting his head like on Jordan's face, and the blood was affecting Jordan more than it was affecting Tim because it was getting in his eyes. It was insane. I have never seen anything like it. Carrie, that is a phenomenal pick.
Yeah, this is why I challenged you, Carrie. I knew that you had it in you.
Yeah, I love that pick. Freaking Tim Elliott is just a goddamn savage.
Dude, that was great to see, and we all bet that, and it's so fun. I love when we come together on an underdog, and it's like, I love a good underdog bet. And just why was Espinosa a favorite? I don't get it.
And how about the line? It ended up at -125 for Elliott.
Yeah.
We saw that a mile away.
Right, you got to.
All I got to say is Grant Dawson called that fight like to a T.
30-27.
That's exactly how he called it. That fight going. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
The next one, espresso shot of the night. Steve, you can go.
Oh, espresso shot of the night. I did have this one for our guy Kai Kara France, just surviving all that onslaught from Ruggiero, and then he just turns on the heat there and just knocks him out and
throwing heaters.
He was throwing heaters out there, and he just kind of called his shot. It was a little bit of like a walk-off home run type of situation. He just landed the shot and then was just like, he just turned and walked away.
He saluted Mark Hunt.
He did. Yep, exactly. So I feel like Kai Kara France is definitely deserving of this one. He has a ton of power in that division where you don't really see a ton of power. So I like Kai Kara France in that one. Espresso shot of the night.
Bontarine went face down, ass up. Another one of those.
You did.
Yeah.
I'm not going to finish the rest of that. Aaron, you can go second.
Great choice. It's surprisingly with as exciting as this card was, there wasn't a lot of those like one-shot moments where it was like, oh my God. So I'm actually going to give it to one that like didn't straight up put her opponent out, but Amanda Lemos's jab that put her down, that last one, that's scary, man. Now all of a sudden we have a really interesting challenger for Weili Zhang that she's going to shoot up in the rankings and should be fighting for a title contending bout in her next fight. And I would really like to see what she has next, because she put down Souza 3 times in like 2 minutes. And the way it was stopped and then not argued by Souza when she still wasn't even out, like she accepted, like it was Herzog. It was like just, it was just a perfect shot, and it didn't have to put her out to end the fight. And it's like, that was just really impressive. You don't see that at the strawweight division ever.
She looked good.
Yeah.
She looked real good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first fight of the night. I'm going Trevin Jones. I really like that knockout. First off, perfect way to start the card. That's how you want every card to start. Set the tone. And just, he was kind of losing that fight. He was kind of back against the cage for the majority of the first round. Comes out second round, throws a hell of a, it was almost like a jab. Oh no, it was an uppercut. It was like an uppercut, but it was like an uppercut hook type deal.
It was definitely disguised coming in as an uppercut, but he turned it over at the last second. It was a shovel hook, essentially.
And I liked it a lot. It was really nice knockout. And again, it set the tone for the card. So I'm going Trevin Jones, espresso shot of the night.
Despite my disdain for anything French or with the name France in it, I was going to go Kai Kara France. But since Steve took that, and I know Nunes finished it with a sub, but I'm going to go with Nunes and her strikes on Megan, because she hits so hard. And I feel like, have you ever seen those machines It's like a speed bag, but it's like the Carnival or Dave and Buster's where you go up and hit it and it tells you your force. I mean, she's coming home with a bag full of tickets or a stuffed animal every time. She hits hard.
Yeah, she's like I said, she punches harder than Dominic Cruz, hands down. I would put money on it. If I had Dom Cruz punch me and I had Amanda Nunes punch me, it's gonna hurt more from Amanda Nunes.
I wonder what the odds are on that. I'm curious. I want to get a punch machine, put Nunes and Cruz. I bet Nunes would be the favorite, actually, now that I've set it up that way. I bet it would be like minus 120.
I'd take Nunes in that.
Yeah, minus 120 line on Nunes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be pretty confident in that. We should put those tweets out. We should tweet polls. Who would win against on the punching bag carnival game?
I think Nunes would win that poll handily. Like, I really do.
I think so too.
Yeah, so that means that Nunes can knock out Takuyo Mitsugaki. That's what we're saying.
Sure.
Perfect.
I agree. You could also give it to Kennedy. Carrie, how do I say it?
Nzechukwu.
Frig Carlos Olberg.
Yeah. So actually, we can get to the decaf performance of the night. I'm actually going to go Santos Rakic. Or sorry, Steve, you were supposed to go first. But yeah, I'm going with that fight just as a whole because they both were terrible. And when especially like if you are trying to get a title shot, like make a name for yourself, do something with it. Like same thing. Like I understand Cyril Gane last week, right? He didn't get the finish. Like if he would have got a finish, catapult. Like where you're talking potential title shot, like pretty quick. They did nothing for their cause in this fight. It was that bad. Like it was just a snooze fest. You know, it's one of those fights too. Then these are the worst ones when you know each guy has like one punch knockout power, and you're just like, okay, like eventually one of them is gonna land, and they just stared at each other. Like it was just a snooze fest from beginning to end. That gets my decaf performance of the night. There weren't many choices. I feel. I mean, I guess there were, but that one to me was kind of like my. Especially you're starting off the main card. Like we paid $70 for this shit for one, and two, like this is supposed to be, this is potentially the card of the year. You're starting this thing out. Deliver with some fireworks, and it was just, oh my god, that was as bad of I could have taken a nap. Like I didn't miss a thing in that entire fight. At one point, actually, our internet cut out. And we weren't able to watch it, and I turned it back on, and they looked like they were standing in the same exact spot, staring at each other still. We didn't miss anything, and that fight was terrible. That gets my decaf performance of the night.
Aaron, you want to go second?
Go ahead, Steve.
This one's a little bit unpopular. I had Song. No, I'm just kidding. I had and don't yell at me, Aaron, but this one, I think I have to give to Petr Yan. I just don't understand. I just do not understand how you are gonna just throw that completely illegal knee when you're winning that fight into the fourth round. Why the frick did you throw that knee? I don't care. I know they brought up the fact that his corner was like, yeah, you can throw a strike, you can hit him. That doesn't matter. That is like such basic knowledge, and the fact that the ref told him. He said that he's grounded. He said he's grounded. You can't hit him. You fucking hit him. Why the hell did he do that? He absolutely blew that. I have to go Petr Yan. I would go Santos Rakic if had Zach not taken it, but I don't want to double down.
Taken it, I would have gone Petr Yan. So it worked out because I was going Petr Yan too.
Crazy Phil's here. Holy shit.
You know what I mean, though? Like, that's fucking crazy that he threw that knee.
I'm going to cheat and deal out two since Zach did, but mine won't be from the same fight. I'm going to give it to two non-strikers of the night. Elon Cruz and Megan Anderson go on a little espresso coffee date, decaf only, though, because you guys can just enjoy a decaf together because you both threw as many strikes tonight as I did.
Oh my God.
Dude, how about Elon Cruz? He has like a 78-inch reach.
And he has a total of 0 strikes in 2 UFC fights.
Hey, man, he was on your show.
I'm aware. I'm very disappointed.
Those are just facts.
It's like that. I have to say that, and it's true. And
are we talking potentially cut from the UFC already?
He's definitely cut from the UFC after this. It's just some fighters are just not UFC caliber, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But I mean, I don't think Megan Anderson's back after this either, since her division's not back. It was the final fight of her contract as well. She was betting on herself here, and it didn't turn out. So she'll probably have a site announcement here in the next couple days. Yeah.
I'm going referee Mark Smith. He let that fight go on for about 2 minutes too long.
So long.
He went
strikes. Like
he went full Herb Dean. You never go full Herb Dean.
Herb Dean.
It doesn't pay off well. Yeah, I was ready to run to my laundry room, grab a white rag, and throw it in the ring for the guy.
Yeah, it was bad. Like Elon, he was basically like, Elon, your freaking job is on the line. You better get out of this. You better get out. And he just He just let him eat like 1,000 more shots. Really, really bad. There was a couple other guys. Carlos Ulberg, man, that was pretty bad. Like
laid an egg, man.
Yeah, like he. The thing is, like round one, you're like, okay, but we
had the finish. I was like, we're getting the finish.
I literally said like that looked like a round of Rock'em Sock'em robots. Like whatever person's head got popped off first, lost. Like it was that bad. There was zero defense. Hats off to in Chukwu, whatever,
Kennedy.
However I say it, Kennedy. But yeah. And then the other one I was gonna say is possibly Jake Matthews, but Sean Brady is goddamn
dude.
Good,
Sean Brady, legit.
Yeah, he is legit. So that is someone to definitely watch out for.
I agree.
Anything else, fellas?
I mean, it's somehow I watched 15 fights. It's 3 a.m. I'm wide awake.
You guys want to go to IHOP?
Yeah, like I'm ready to the Waffle House and see, another fight or two. But like, yeah, I loved this event in all seriousness. Like, I get that it had a couple valleys once kind of it fell off of the finishing train of the first 8, but at the end of the day, I think we've got a lot of huge statement wins at the end of this card and some legit new contenders, especially from those first 4 fights, particularly. So yeah, I mean, I think overall this is close to an A- card for me, B+ card, to be honest, after the fact, not ahead, which is nice for a strong card on paper. Usually those are like disappointing.
This is a good reason to I think we saw a lot of people saying like, oh, I'm just going to tune into the prelims. Watch all the fights. You see better fights in the early prelims and the prelims. The main card, in my opinion, underperformed compared to the prelims and the early prelims by far. So you got to watch those fights. Those are the best ones. And if you're betting, that's where you make your money. 1,000%.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm all in. And honestly, I know the Petr Yan thing sucked, but like, how often do you get something like that to talk about?
That was cool.
A title changing hands off a DQ. I mean, it made for good talking points. I know it sucks when it happens, but it's crazy. I wish I would have bet the draw. The dogs were the DQ. The dogs were onto something. They knew something was going to be wonky, and the dogs did pretty well. I think they went 3 for 5. They did not want to pick a distinct winner in that fight for whatever reason. It was they just didn't, and they knew something wonky was going to happen. We should got to listen to them next time. They know more than we do.
Next time, we're listening.
All right, everyone. That's going to do it for this episode of Coffee and KOs, the recap show on the Fight Bananas YouTube channel and Facebook. You can find us on all social media platforms at Coffee and KOs 1. We are also on YouTube at Coffee and KOs. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really, really appreciate it. We gave away our first piece of merchandise today. It was signed by Glory MMA. Andrew Klein was the winner.
Adam Klein.
Sorry, Adam Klein. Sorry. Thank you, Steve. Adam Klein was the winner. And so hopefully we'll be able to do more of that in the future. You can check us out again, all social media platforms. Please subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, as well as Fight Bananas. And this show is also brought to you by Sheath Underwear. Go to sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code Coffee and KOs and get 20% off your entire purchase. Don't forget to sheath your dagger, and we will see everyone next time.